Dale Earnhardt Jr. had enough of the NASCAR policies about moving races in order to please other sports. But on top of that, this is not the only problem that he has with the sport, as the latest race in Martinsville has seen some desperate tries from certain drivers in order to be promoted in the Championship 4, ones that could have ended a lot worse for them than they actually did. But how does NASCAR respond to this, and more importantly, is there any value behind Dale's complaints? It goes without saying that Dale Earnhardt Jr. is one of the most valuable and respected members of NASCAR, and when he has a certain say on a matter, then it's not something we should turn a blind eye to. This time, it was mostly about Martinsville and the way the RCR drivers acted around it. But according to Dale, the drivers are not the ones that should be put at fault. It's the sport and the way they have made the Hail Mary move legal after Ross Chastain's spectacle last year. The Hail Mary is a move in which a driver goes on full throttle in the last corner of the race, riding on the chicane with as much speed as possible and passing as many drivers as possible in quite a desperate attempt, if we may add. This is something that has been revolutionized after Ross Chastain pulled it off in the Cup Series last year, but it's also something that should create a lot of talking points between the NASCAR drivers due to the safety of the move itself. In this year's Martinsville scenario, the race that provides the perfect circumstances for the Hail Mary move, it was the Xfinity Series that witnessed a lot of friction between the drivers. And although Dale's team was on the positive side of the entire situation, he is not happy with how the sport is letting this move slide easily under the rug. Quite the contrary, he feels like Martinsville has been put in the elimination race deliberately, just for the sake of the viewership, and more often than not, it's their own fault that the drivers are putting themselves in risky situations just to gain more position so that NASCAR will increase its viewership and popularity. Towards the end of the race, the final spot in the championship race was up for grabs, and it had three contenders: Austin Hill, Sheldon Creed of RCR, and Justin Allgaier of JR Motorsports. The initial belief was that Hill and Creed would be the ones to fight for the win, but the aggression from the number 2 driver cost his teammate dearly as he spun right before the checkered flag. To top that off, Creed was not even able to finish the job and win the race, as he would have fallen victim to Justin's performance, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. has had the last laugh in this entire scenario. But there is a certain way of how every driver acts during the last elimination race in the playoffs in Martinsville, and the fact that the Hail Mary move has been practiced more often now that Chastain proved you can gain a lot of positions with it and still make it out alive at the end of the race is definitely a factor towards this move being more and more revolutionized in the sport. And to add salt to the wound, Creed has slammed his team about why he is leaving, as after the race, he went on to say, "Andy Petrie was just mad at how I raced to 21, but roles reversed, they don't say anything. Probably part of the reason I'm leaving. Obviously, they're going to be mad. I felt like I got him up off the bottom and I gave him a chance to finish second or third, and they all just drive into him at the end. The 20 got him." Elaborating on how the Hail Mary move boosted viewership, even in a slightly controversial manner, Dale wasn't particularly happy that the drivers were opting for this and other dangerous moves, such as crashing into each other in a bid to overtake, as he went on to say, "They picked Martinsville to be an elimination race, the race that sends everyone to the championship race, and it's the same as having Daytona as the regular season finale. That was an intentional decision to create moments, drama, and make these drivers do uncomfortable things." But even though the format puts a lot of pressure on the drivers, Dale feels that in certain situations, the drivers actually do need these types of events in order to mature as drivers. As he continued, "It's frustrating sometimes because your driver ends up in a bad position or crashes sometimes. But I don't know, we could have run that 10 times and had a different ending. But as a broadcaster and fan, I want to see drivers put in uncomfortable positions." Obviously, crashes in the last elimination race are not something that are unknown to the fans, whether we're talking about the Cup Series or the Xfinity ones, as we all know how the situation ended last year between Ty Gibbs and his teammate Brandon Jones at the exact same place. And now, the ball has seemingly fallen in the court of JR Motorsport. This is something that Dale expected to happen, mostly because it was pre-scripted by NASCAR's choice to put Martinsville as the last race before the Caravan heads into Phoenix. As he added, "I don't think anyone wants to see this kind of finish every week, but you have to understand, when they made the format and chose the races that go in the rounds, it was with this in mind. All in all, it was not a good thing to witness from Richard Childress' side, as he would have to have a serious conversation with both of his drivers. However, now that it's all said and done, there is nothing much he can do given the fact that this is the last season of Creed and RCR. And even though Dale was on the positive side of things, as it was his driver who won the race, thanks to the friction that happened between the RCR drivers, he understands that it could have easily been his drivers that could have caused this scenario as well, as he went on to say, "Well, we're thankful that this was a wild finish. Justin didn't have a good enough car to outrun them guys, but in all, it got messy at the end, and we came out on the good end of it. And when those things happen, there will be a lot of people that are unhappy, or one guy that is, or maybe two, but we've been on both ends of it. I don't know if you could do anything to avoid having those types of finishes when there's so much at stake and everyone's within reach of each other physically on the racetrack. It worked as designed in terms of creating a lot of drama and conversation around what happened on the racetrack. And all this drama, although boosting the sport's popularity, is taking a toll on the credibility of the series, mostly because they are always moving their schedules so that other, more important events are going to take place in that particular period. In this particular instance, Dale Earnhardt Jr. believes that NASCAR should bow to no one when it comes to the Olympics, not because they have something against it, but because they have always done it and they are losing credibility and reputation among the fans. During the next year, the Olympics are bound to happen in August, and NASCAR had to take a 2-week break because of it, and it's safe to say that Dale is not happy with this development of events. Elaborating on this matter even further, the second issue for Dale has been well known to the NASCAR media, as he elaborated. "I don't like a break in our schedule determined by other sports. Nothing against the Olympics, but we would always adjust our schedule based on, well, the NFL's doing this is happening. There's a primetime game here. So we are always moving for everybody else. Hell with that. We ought to be doing what we want to do. You move." But why is NASCAR forced to make way for the Olympics? The bizarre reason is that the employer of Dale Earnhardt Jr., NBC, is scheduled to broadcast the Olympics in Paris from July 26 to August 11th, and apart from broadcasting them, the media house serves as the exclusive television partner for the final 20 races of NASCAR's Cup Series. The overlay of the dates is exactly what prompted the racing promotion to take a step back, and Dale currently works for NBC as a racing analyst for NBC Sports. This is the group that issues with the 2-week break, and even though many of the fans and the experts are understandable of the issue that the Olympics are poised for the sport, Dale is not actually feeling like this should be the direction that NASCAR should move into. Do you think that Dale holds a valid point about the Martinsville excitement and Hail Mary moves and the NASCAR schedule always sacrificing itself for other sports? Let us know in the comments below.